Jim Brown quotes Michael Jordan brings millions of dollars into any arena that he shows up. And money is how a lot of people tend to judge you and how valuable you are. However, while that's happening, Rome is burning within the black community. Jim Brown was one of the greatest football players ever, arguably the GOAT. Um, he was very opinionated. I used to watch him all the time. He would talk about Jordans and Kobe's and what he felt. And he brought up and he definitely put his money where his mouth is for America, giving back to communities and, speaking out on different things. Um, I know exactly what he was saying because there are people who, while they thought Michael Jordan was arguably the greatest basketball player or one of the greatest, etc., they didn't think much of him personally. And see, that's a contingent that there are people who don't necessarily get excited about him because they never felt he did much for the community. They thought that he was used and pimped by the powers that be. And there's truth to that. Oh, yeah, there's a great truth to that because he did all kinds of commercials. And, when you had his shoes selling and everything like that, there were people being on the live behind his shoes and a lot of the stuff and the sweatshops and all the stuff. And so there's a way of communication. And he never really took a stance on certain things to make people connect like that. His athleticism was out of this world, and his his persona and charisma. Did that make Jim Brown a player hater? Some people would say, "Oh man, you just bitter and mad." But he was telling the facts about within the community because, like Jordan, be it like Michael Jackson, it's people like when people say we hold you in high regards, but what do you bring back to the community? What what do you speak on about the community? Tupac had talked about this a long time ago about there are no $10 million houses in the hood, and how all that money and that money that you see is actually not going to see it, folks. It's going to folks because of their name. It's a whole business that's behind the situation. So when people understand that they can sit here and plaster how much you're worth in Forbes magazine, the industry controls that business and that likeness. So what you're really worth, what they really think you're worth, and how it's really worth is three different types of worth. I just want you to understand that what you're really worth, what they really feel you're worth, and what the trueness of the worth, they take on whole different components. And so I understand why he was saying what he said, again, and he used them because he was the biggest moneymaker at the time and still is. Because I mean, LeBron James, Steph Curry, them, they don't move the shoes, and they don't have the kind of thing that Jordan had. Jordan still had that kind of aura. There were others that came after and did quite well. Of course, Jim Brown felt that way about Kobe as well. As far as the community, he made his point. He made his feelings felt. Whether you agree with it or not, cats come around a different era will speak out on different themes and have different takes. And Rome is a metaphor because Rome wasn't built in a day. However, the way the community needed to hear their voice. They didn't need a pair of shoes or grinning and talking about Hanes and things of the magnitude. They needed you to kind of like say, hey, we as a community is what we have to do. And, and just feel like you related to it. Because that was the thing that the cats back in the day was about, character and relatable. But anyway, let me know what you think about Jim Brown's quotes. I might use other quotes by him. He was definitely a one of one. Please like, subscribe, work on thoughts, comments, and I do respond. Thank you. Wash your hand. Keep your mind clear. Watch out for another. Stay safe, stay blessed, stay woke, stay free. I'm out one time. Peace.